So another question I get from some of my buyers is, I don't have enough down payment money. There's the old thing out there that you got to have 20% down. I hear that often, 20% down, which is not true. But I hear it all the time. I don't have enough money to put down. How much do I need to save before I can, buy a home? So what are the different options and loan types that the buyer can go through that?
Yeah, great question. So I'm surprised at this day and age, in 2023, how many people still think you have to have 20% down to buy a home, which is just not true. There's several 0% down options. Like VA, for example, if you have that benefit, right? If you're a veteran and you have the VA benefit, that's, I think, personally, one of the best loans out there. And rightfully so, you've earned that. You should take advantage of that with the zero down. There's also in rural areas, you can qualify for a USDA loan, which is 0% down. Other options too are going to be your more traditional FHA, which would require a minimum of 3.5% down. Conventional for a first-time home buyers, 3% down. But there are also down payment assistance programs and grants that can help cover your down payment, plus some of your closing costs, if not all of them. So you could potentially get into a home even with an FHA or conventional loan with nothing out of pocket. When I bought my first home almost 20 years ago, I used a zero down loan, but it was an FHA based loan, so I had a 3.5% down requirement. But the loan program I used was a down payment assistance. So I got a small second mortgage that covered my down payment plus some of my closing costs, and then I negotiated in the terms of my offer with the seller to cover the rest of the closing costs. So I literally walked into the title company to sign closing paperwork with a pen. And that was it, right? So it was, there's so many different programs out there. Now, obviously, everybody's case is a little bit different, and sometimes it makes sense to put a little more or even a little bit less down. But for the minimal down loans, you've got several zero down options, down payment assistant grant program options, and then even just a traditional FHA 3.5% or conventional would be 3% for first-time home buyers.
Yeah, and I've heard there's a couple of grant programs that have come out recently. I think there's the new build one. You have to be in a certain, it's like, I think 20,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a 20,000 new construction first-time home buyer program. There's different counties have different, like Davis County here in Utah. I believe it's $50,000 grant or up to a $50,000.
Yeah, we just heard about that one a couple of days ago. Yep. Davis County has a $50,000 grant program.
And a lot of folks too, they want to get into a multi-unit property, like the first-time home buyers. And they're like, I can afford the mortgage maybe, but like I'm not comfortable with that mortgage, especially with where interest rates are at right now. And so you could go even a multi-unit, meaning 2, 3, or 4-plex, right? With an FHA loan with 3.5% down. It's challenging right now with FHA with a 3 or 4-plex because by their guidelines, the rents, the estimated rents for the property, right, for all 3 or 4 units on a 3 or 4-plex, whatever that anticipated rent is, has to cover the mortgage payment with where rates are at. It's really hard to do. So there's a new conventional option. If you're going to live in the home, a primary residence on a multi-unit, a 2, 3, or 4, you can put as little as 5% down starting mid-November. I believe it's November 19th is the date that'll go into effect, where before now, or I guess as of right now, right, is 15% down if you're going to live in the home and buy a multi-unit. And the beauty of this program is that on a 3 or a 4-plex, like there's not that, guideline or challenge with making sure all the units can collect enough rent to cover the mortgage, right? Liquidity test, you wouldn't have to do that on a conventional type loan. So as long as your income and the expected rents for the other units you're not going to occupy can cover, the housing expense plus whatever else you have on credit, right? As long as your debt to income ratios are in line, you're golden. You could get into a 4-plex with as little as 5% down.
A lot of options for you out there. So, so many different things that come talk to this guy because he'll give you all the options on that